Hi everyone, it's Ellen March with Sulky of America, and I'm so excited because I have a special guest for today's So What? And today we will be talking with Jessica Barrera, who is the owner and designer behind Sallie Tomato. So I'm excited for her to tell you all about Sallie Tomato and to get you excited for our webinar that is happening at 2 o'clock Eastern Time today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of some background on Jessica, and we'll be answering your questions live. So be sure to comment on the post today so that we can get your questions and get them answered. So if you have something for Jessica or for me, just shoot us a line and we will address all those questions today. So let me welcome Jessica here. Hey, Jessica. Thanks so much for joining us today. So you're in your studio and getting ready for our webinar. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you and how you started Sallie Tomato?
Okay. Yeah, I first started my business. I was making things and selling them on Etsy. And the first pattern I ever wrote was for a dog bed. I was making these dog beds with an attached blanket on them because my dog gets really cold. And so my mom had joked that I should write a pattern for it. And I wrote some instructions up and I pitched the idea to a local quilt shop. And they liked the idea and they put it in their catalog. And ever since then, I've been writing patterns. I really like writing patterns for bags and figuring out how to use hardware and cork fabric and other unique materials to make it look really professional. So after writing the patterns, then I started adding purse hardware and cork fabric to my collection. And in college and when I graduated, this was all out of my home. And now I purchased a building and we have a team of 7. So we're growing quite quickly and it's a lot of fun to do what I love.
That's so awesome. I love hearing about how, people got started in this industry. I think it's fantastic because I'm sure there's so many people out there that want to incorporate sewing or quilting or crafting into their job and what they have to do every day. And, if you love what you do, it makes your life just so much better, so much easier.
Yeah.
So all of your patterns are kind of named after movies or characters. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So let me back up. So the name of my business, Sallie Tomato, because I'm Jessica. Sallie is my middle name, and then tomato like a tomato pincushion. And it's also a character from the movie Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I love classic movies, so I've named each of my patterns after a classic movie or a classic movie actress or actor. So just kind of fun to kind of figure out which movies the patterns are named after.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really fun part of the creative process, I'm sure, too. Do you have a character in mind when you start designing, or do you generally design the bag or the, pattern and then come up with that later?
Yeah, usually the design comes first, and then I figure out which era that it fits into, or which actress would likely carry that bag. So yeah, I do the pattern first.
Nice. That's so much fun. Well, today we are going to be debuting one of your brand new patterns. And for all of you out there who are interested in our webinar, we will be talking about the Scarlet Pattern. And that is named after Scarlett O'Hara, right?
Yes, I'm Gone with the Wind.
Love it. So it's kind of an exclusive sneak peek into this pattern, and you will only be getting access to the pattern if you register for the webinar today. And it's part of our webinar kit. So that's how you will be able to make today's bag. And it is made out of cork fabric, which I love this cork fabric trend. I love working with it. I did an episode of It's So Easy last season using cork fabric. And now that I've tried your cork fabric, which I have a little sample of it here, this is the charcoal cork. You could see how it looks like it's textured, but it's actually really smooth. And it looks like leather, but it sews so much easier. How did you kind of fall in love with cork fabric?
Well, I've seen it on ready-made bags, and I love doing research. So I researched the material, and I figured out that you could buy it in yardage. And I mean, it's great because you can leave it raw edge. So it's nice for making straps and tassels, and it just opens up a lot of possibilities for sewing because you can leave it raw edge.
Yeah, and your cork is really high quality. I love how it's also stamped with the Sallie Tomato logo. Can you guys see that? I love little touches like that. But it's also really easy to do machine embroidery on it. Now, if you were adding machine embroidery to, let's say, leather or pleather or those more like stickier materials, it just presents a whole host of problems that you have to overcome. But I find when I'm doing machine embroidery on cork, I really don't need to take many extra precautions. I mean, as long as I have the right needle and I'm not hooping the fabric, which we will learn about in the webinar, I mean, it just sews like a dream, even with the friction and the high speed of the machine embroidery. So I love it for that also.
You don't really need anything special to get started with it. You can pretty much just start sewing with it, which is nice. It's very easy to sew with, like you said, easier than vinyl or leather.
Yeah, and Jessica will be giving lots more tips on how to sew with it, and especially how to make bags with it, because there are some, there can be some sort of bulky seam intersections and things like that to take into account. But it's really easy to overcome. I made the bag and I absolutely love it. And you can have fun with your lining fabric choice as well. And we'll go through this in the webinar, but we didn't include lining fabric in the kit so that you can kind of dive into your stash and see what goes with the cork fabric. You can give it a little pop of color or a really cute print on the inside that is kind of a surprise just for you. So we kind of left that open for, you as the designer to kind of choose what you want to do. So what's your favorite bag pattern that you've made thus far?
Definitely the ginger bag. Besides for this one, right? The Scarlet bag, but the ginger bag is a very easy, beginner-friendly project, and it takes about 4 hours to cut it out and sew, so it's really quick. And that one you can use cork fabric or cotton. I try to write the instructions so you can use either or. So if you want to try sewing with cork, you can. Otherwise, if you want to make it out of cotton first, then you can try the pattern to see how you like it.
Love that. So I had a great question and somehow it has left my mind when you're talking about kind of substituting different fabrics. But I don't want to give away too much about today's webinar, but your bags always have a really great professional polish to them. And I think adding these professional touches is actually rather simple. You just have to know what they are and understand how to apply them or insert them into the bag. So I think adding structure, even when you're working with cork, is an important sort of touch that makes your bag look even more professional. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a lot about the placement of the cork and the hardware, and yeah, a lot of times you only need, a few little pieces of cork just to elevate your bag, and just add it to the strap or just add it to the bottom of your bag just to try. It adds structure, and then, like you said, it looks really high quality.
Yeah. And I will say it is important to purchase a high quality cork fabric. I've sewn with some other brands in the past, and sometimes it will kind of split along the seam, or the cork starts, you know, curling up a little bit where you've sewn it. You definitely don't want that to happen. So I think a lot of people see the price of cork fabric and kind of freak out, but it really is worth it. And I mean, you're not using leather, that can get very costly. And this is a bag that's going to be really durable and last. So can you speak a little bit about sort of your quality control and kind of what makes your cork fabric that high quality that we're looking for?
Yeah, and I'll go over this more in the webinar too, but mainly there are two different qualities of cork, and it all depends on the backing material. And so there's a non-woven backing, and then there is a woven backing. The non-woven, I've found it tends to crack, and I've even had the color come off when I made a bag out of it, and then it rubs up against my clothes. And that one you cannot iron. The woven backing, so that's more similar to what we're used to sewing with, is wovens. So that one, it's a lot more pliable. It doesn't crack. You can iron it from either side if you want to. You don't really have a lot of circumstances where you need to iron cork at all, but you can. And there's also a new thinner backing. So, and that's the woven as well. So definitely just kind of, if you're buying cork fabric, test it out by just moving it in your hands and feeling and looking at the backing. So because you're spending a lot of time to make your project and you want to make sure that you have a nice quality cork fabric.
Definitely. I think that's really key, is, you know, spend a couple more dollars to make sure that A, you're going to have a good experience with your sewing and not get frustrated. And B, make sure that this thing's going to last. You know, bags, we're just kind of, we use them and abuse them, right? So if we're going to take all this time to add machine embroidery with a super sparkly thread that we're going to debut today, hint, hint, then, you know, obviously we want it to last, like you said. So all of your research and your designing on cork fabric has all culminated into a brand new book, which we are also going to talk a lot about today. But can you maybe tell us a little bit about the process for that? You know, did the publisher contact you about writing the book, and kind of that exciting sort of process? How did that all start?
Yeah. Well, I started selling cork in 2016, and it was brand new to the market and nobody else had a book for it. So I started writing a proposal, and I was in college at the time, so I set it aside for a while. And then in 2017, after I went to my first quilt market, then C&T Publishing approached me and asked me to write the book on cork. So that was pretty neat, since I already started writing the proposal and then they came to me. But it took about 2 years to write the book, and it was quite a bit of work. So I had to design a project once a week and write the instructions for it. So there are 17 projects in the book, and there's things from bags, of course, and I've done some home decor. There's a woven basket out of cork fabric. There's an applique wall hanging, a necklace, all kinds of things. There's some that you don't need to put a lining in because you can leave cork raw edge. So a lot of the projects, I figured out the exact amount of yardage of cork that you need, since it is very expensive. So then there's minimal waste, and then you use the whole piece of cork. So, and I try to include some things for beginners, but then if you're ready for a more challenging project or a larger project using cork, I put some of those projects in there too.
Love that. Yeah, because even with our bag today, we'll have a tiny bit left over, but honestly, not much. Like, we really are using that yardage to the full extent.
Yes.
But, you know, like, I've got just a couple little pieces, you know, where you can make an extra tassel for another bag, or make a tassel as like a little key ring, like you were saying, or, you know, the necklace, all that kind of stuff. So I just love, love, love those ideas. And you can find the book at sulky.com. It's there right now, along with some of our other webinar special deals, which the special deals are only going to be available until midnight tonight. So register for the webinar, watch live. If you can't join us live, as always, the webinars become on-demand events. So you can watch at your leisure at any time, but make sure to take advantage of those sales and great deals until midnight tonight. So even if you have to watch tomorrow, grab up your kit today, because, you know, like we've been talking about, this cork is not cheap, people, but it's definitely worth it, and you're going to want to sew with it. So this is a great opportunity to grab it all together in a kit with the pattern and the hardware and everything you need all in one nice little bag, especially this brand new Sulky thread. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I want you guys to tune in and hear about this brand new thread that we're debuting today. For this webinar kit only. It's not even available to buy individually yet, so it's an awesome sneak peek. But Jessica likes to use Sulky Poly Deco thread for her bags and for this bag project. Can you talk a little bit about how you liked working with the thread?
Yeah, I only sew with Sulky Poly Deco. You want to, whenever I'm making a bag, you want to make sure that it has a really nice strong seam. So I always sew polyester, and especially when you're sewing either cork on cork together or cork on fabric, you want that nice strong stitch. So polyester is the way to go. I always use polyester.
Nice. Another thing I wanted to talk about really quick is your cruise that you have coming up. Because speaking of Poly Deco, that is going to be included with the projects on your cruise. So can you tell everybody a little bit about that so they can get involved if there is still time to join that excursion?
Yep, there's a couple spots left. We're going to be cruising to the Bahamas. I'm teaching 3 projects on the cruise, and we're going to be using cork fabric and the Poly Deco thread. So yeah, there's a couple spots left if anybody still wanted to sign up. It's called So Amazing Cruise, is the cruise that I'm going to be teaching on.
That's awesome. There is nothing like sewing on your way to the Bahamas. I can only imagine. I've never been on a cruise, but anytime I can get all-inclusive attention and then to be able to sew and make projects at the same time, I mean, this sounds like a great girlfriend's trip or mother-daughter trip, something like that. So I know Sulky is really excited to be involved and to start being more involved in these cruises, because we love sewing and travel. Even if you're just meeting new friends who like to do the same stuff as you, that is really invaluable. So it's very cool. How did you get started on the cruise circuit?
Yeah. Well, Reen from Embroidery Garden, she loves using my zippers and cork fabric in all of her projects, and she was teaching on one of these cruises. And Jamie, who is the host of the cruises, wanted to figure out who was this girl selling these zippers and cork fabric. So he contacted me and checked out my website and asked me to be on one of the cruises. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've never been on a cruise either. So.
That's so awesome. Well, that's exciting. You know, we have done a craft tours tour to Germany. We went last November and we saw the Sulky factory and a bunch of touristy destinations as well, and the Christmas markets in Germany, and it was amazing. And so, you know, branching out and doing some, you know, different types of travel is always, always great. But we will be doing another craft tour in 2020. It's still kind of coming soon because we're working out the final details. But if you do want information on that, you can email info@crafttours.com. We'll put a link in the, or we'll post the email in the comments here so you can easily navigate there. And they can kind of keep you posted on when the details of that will be finalized. I'm hoping this week. And then there will be more news about some upcoming cruises that you can participate in. And I might just be on one myself. We'll see how that goes. So let me think. We had a couple of other things come in. People are just talking about sort of the price of cork, and they agree that you get what you pay for. That's certainly true in all areas. You know, at Sulky, we have the highest quality thread, and there is a reason for that. We want you to be successful in anything that you're sewing. I'm sure, Jessica, you feel the same way. There's nothing like going through a pattern and not understanding one of the directions to just make you want to quit. And so we are very, very passionate about education, about using high quality products. And, you know, in the long run, it actually doesn't end up costing you too much more because it's totally worth it. So let's see. Ooh, makes great gifts. Yeah. I think, you know, do you find that most people are making your bags for themselves or as gifts, or is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, and a lot of my customers too make bags and sell them. So that's why they come to me for the cork, because I have the high quality cork. But yeah, and everybody always uses all their scraps. It's really neat to see the things that they come up with because they don't want to waste any of it. So whether they piece it together or do applique or make key fobs, or and a lot of times they'll match to their outfit too, which is fun. They'll make a matching dress to go with their outfit or a matching scarf. So
nice. Yeah, I mean, I come into contact with a lot of people who say they only sew for gifts, and I'm like, well, you need to start sewing for yourself. But I need to take that advice as well, because I find I make things for other people almost all the time. So it's about time I have this cork bag that I can't wait to keep. And I do want to mention too, for our webinar today, we will be working with this charcoal color, which kind of matches the sweater I'm wearing today. And it's a nice neutral color of cork, so your bag is really going to match anything. You know, it's going to really become your everyday bag that you love. But we are also going to have a cardinal version, and that kind of goes with the whole scarlet theme. Sorry, my dog's in here. But it's a really nice rich red color, and we had a little bit of a factory error on that, so it's coming in a little bit later. So grab up the charcoal one, and then you can also order the cardinal at the same great webinar price. It's just going to come a little bit later, so don't fear. Red one will be available. Okay, so someone's asking, what's the name of the website for the cork? If they want to go to your website, you want to speak about that?
yep, it's sallietomato.com, and Sallie with an IE. So all the cork, zippers, patterns, hardware, everything's on my website.
Perfect. And of course, you can get your poly deco thread and your stabilizers for your bag at sulky.com, which is where our webinar kit will be. It's actually there right now if you want to take a look and have a sneak peek into our webinar kit today. But again, be sure to join us. I think that's all we have for you today. So Jessica, thank you so much for being here today with us. And yeah, and let's go get ready for the webinar. So everyone register, and we will see you all in about an hour.
Sounds good. See you then.
All right, bye.